Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. You know, I was advised once not to go down in the gutter with politics, and I have no intentions of doing so as a young member of parliament and politician. And the persons who advised me are sitting on that side of the house, and I trust that they will do so and advise their own members. Especially what we just heard, I'm certain that that advice is necessary. So there is a popular statement that says empty barrels make the most noise. And what we had just now was a clueless, noisy minister, completely off topic. But sir, we didn't expect anything better. I heard him talking about the 60s and 70s and talking about how people were hungry during that time. I remind the honorable member, the honorable minister, he was a part of the People's National Congress reform. So he contributed to that if it is true, sir. He contributed to it if it was true. I don't know if it was true, but he was a member, sir. So he ought to know that.
Mr. Speaker.
Sir.
Standing order.
Sir.
Honorable Minister, first, before standing order, you're proceeding.
40B, Mr. Speaker. I'm correcting the honorable member.
No, you can't stand on a point of correction. You can give someone a note. Continue, honorable member, Mr. Mahipaul.
Thank you very much for your good protection, sir. Sir, I also heard the honorable member speaking about training and that there was no consideration by the coalition for training. Let me remind him, sir, that the night school was closed by the PPP. Let me remind him that the public service college was closed by the PPP. Let me remind him that the Linden Ambulance Brigade was discontinued by the PPP. So you cannot talk about training and you don't put your evidence here. The coalition has a track record of training young people. The coalition has a track record of providing this country with young leadership. Look on this side of the house, sir. And when you look on that side of the house, tell me what you see. And you will know who really have young people at heart, sir. Sir, I don't wish to continue to labor on the Labour Minister's presentation, which was basically nothing of substance. But I rise on this side of the Honourable House to make my contribution to Budget 2022. But before I do so, permit me the opportunity to thank the many public servants who worked hard and beyond the call of duty to bring Budget 2022 before this Honourable House. It is extremely sad that with the current living standard in this country, no proper mention of public servants was made in this budget. To all public servants, I assure you that with the return of the AP and UAFC to government, your interests will be paramount, along with all the hard-working Guyanese who without a doubt are the driving forces of this dear land. We on this side of the Honourable House understand clearly that the direction of this budget is solely that of the PPPC. In their efforts continue to rob our country, and the fact that they have used, abused, and frankly refused to put proper measures in Budget 2022 for the public servants, teachers, doctors, nurses, and our disciplinary service men and women is testimony to the fact of who these people really are. And that simply is because they don't care. Sir, the best words in the English language, which is parliamentary acceptable to describe the 5 hours and 15 minutes presentation of the senior minister within the office of the president with responsibilities for finance, is fake love. The Honorable Ashley Singh has demonstrated to all Guyanese that he is nothing more than a flim-flammer. He has succeeded in his task given to him by the installed regime to swindle the people into a public deception scheme crafted to only loot the public purse for political monopoly over a projected rise in an infant petroleum economy. Sad is the state of our country. Many ordinary Guyanese were glued to their television sets, smartphones, radios, and other electronic devices, anticipating consideration in this budget because they knew that this regime was going to bleed the Natural Resource Fund account. The suffering of ordinary Guyanese because of prohibitive cost of living and lack of proper consideration by this installed regime is not a surprise to my colleagues and I, but the ordinary people of Guyana thought things would have been brighter for them. Guyana deserved a budget that should have catered and charted a course for all Guyanese out of the poverty that the installed regime bestowed upon us. Instead, we had a 5-hour and 15 minutes of political rhetoric and rambling trying to bamboozle Guyanese by selective highlights, but holistically committing the Guyanese people to a life of additional toil, while the PPP lackeys divide our national patrimony in their continued fleecing of our natural resource and the public purse to enrich themselves, families, and friends. The installed regime is all about making the rich richer and the poor poorer. Sir, I am ashamed to even repeat what is in this budget for our ordinary, hardworking Guyanese. Worse is what is in it for the persons who work hard and are expected to live comfortably in their senior years. Comrade Speaker, had this installed regime respected the Constitution and honored the words enshrined in Article 13, we as a country would not have been in this misery we find ourselves in today. Sir, Article 13 speaks about consultation, and consultation is the bedrock and hallmark of all civilized societies where true democracy is practiced, respected, and honored. The installed regime continues to fake love us by talking about one Guyana. But how can they talk about one Guyana when there is a complete refusal from the head to the tail of this installed set of people to just simply consult? Again, sir, I will put the blame squarely at the feet of the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandalal, for it is he who has professed on many occasions to be the guardian of our Constitution. I must say to the goodly Attorney General that to sit and allow this breach of our Constitution and say nothing is saying something. You must denounce things you are against, or one may believe that you support things you really do not. Sir, the regional democratic councils consist of elected officials, elected by the people, for the people, and the budget circular, which emanated out of the Ministry of Finance under the hands of the Finance Secretary, spoke to the need for an established committee consisting of the elected officials so that the proposals from the respective regions would be that of the people and not the dictatorial arrangement that was allowed by the head of the installed regime, the minister with responsibilities for finance, the finance secretary, and the permanent secretary of local government and regional development. Comrade Speaker, the creatures of the RDC councils received the budget circular on July 31st, 2021, and clear guidelines were documented in that circular. In any good governance system, where the words from the lips of the people who are in borrowed robes are one Guyana, the expectation would have been for these creatures to notify their respective elected councils and immediately switch into consultation mode to capture the requests of the people of this country. Sir, time constraints understandably imposed on me will not permit me to detail the disrespect and dictatorship which occurred at all the RDCs. But allow me to tell you what happened in region number 4, Demerara Mahaica region. The region which is home to almost half of Guyana's population. Notwithstanding the regional executive officer in the name of Donald Gadraj, who is the creature of the elected council, receiving the budget circular since July, he never informed the RDC council up until a letter was written to him by the regional chairman in September. The REO created and proposed the Region 4 budget completely outside of the knowledge of the elected councils of that region. To this day, the chairman and councillors do not know and was never a part of the proposal from the region. Is that not a clear definition of dictatorship, Comrade Speaker? But the story gets uglier, sir. The chairman of Region 4 wrote to the permanent secretary and senior minister of local government and regional development, the finance secretary and senior minister in the office of the president with responsibilities for finance, and also the president of this country, countless letters in the months of September, October, November, December, and even January of 2022. I'm sorry, I have all the documents here, all the letters that were written, and I will submit it to the National Assembly because I'm making reference to them.
Honorable members, there's an issue with that. If you can show me the delivery note too, that you're saying these letters were delivered, because anybody could pick up and make a copy, have the copy, sign and say, this is the copy.
So I have the signed copies, and I also have the document that shows that it was signed received.
Oh, great, great. Thank
So
you.
we have
I'll
our
give you
tracks
back your
covered,
30
sir.
seconds.
Sir, the chairman expressed his disgust and that of the council's disgust with the manner in which Budget 2022 was prepared, and the dictatorial and direct breach of the clear instructions as set out in the budget circular. The chairman of Region 4 attended a meeting of budget where he expressed similar sentiments in the presence of the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, the finance secretary, and other political opponents. Yet this regime stands up with a clear and fake clean face and talk about one Guyana. Comrade Speaker, I must ask these people, honorable of course, in keeping with the standing orders, but I hope God will forgive me for calling them that, because their actions, sir, are definitely not honorable. How do you sleep at nights? How do you walk with a straight face and function as though you are religiously correct? How do you, with a straight face, speak about one Guyana and your actions are focused on more than one Guyana? Comrade Speaker, in my eyes, this is hypocrisy and duplicity at its best. Comrade Speaker, as if they act to show their dislike and disrespect for local democracy, by that behavior is not enough. Let me tell you some more. The very senior minister within the office of the president with responsibilities for finance announced in November of 2021 an across-the-board salary increase of 7% retroactive January 1, 2021. Every elected official in this house, including yourself, sir, received that increase. Of course, Our salary on this side of the house is just a quarter to that of my friends on that side of the house. So outside of all the freeness they enjoy, they also took home a substantial increase in 2021, while majority of Guyana got chicken feed pittance. Public servants, doctors, nurses, our disciplinary service men and women, they simply did not feel it like how you felt it on that side of the house. Sir, the chairpersons and vice chairpersons of the RDCs, mayors and deputy mayors of municipalities are full-time officers in accordance with the laws of this country, Chapter 2809. They are also subject to the inflated cost of living, and they don't enjoy half the benefits like what my friends on that side of the house gets. Their salaries are ridiculously small, but they, notwithstanding being full-time officers, according to the law, did not receive the 7% retroactive January 1, 2021. So how was it an across-the-board salary increase? We were elected by the people. We as members of parliament, we were elected by the people. We received the 7% salary increase. They were also elected by the people, and they are full-time officers of their respective organizations. Why is it that they cannot receive the 7% salary increase retroactive from January 1, 2021? Sir, they are full-time officers, and I hope that the Honorable Minister with responsibilities for finance will correct this error and make it right the next time, should there be. Sir, as if that is not enough to justify this regime's hatred for local democracy, let me tell you some more. The laws of this country, Chapter 2802, Section 28, and the Local Authorities Election Amendment Act of 2018, Act number 10 of 2018, specify that by the 16th of December every year, elections must be held to elect from among the councillors of NDCs and municipalities a chairperson, vice chairperson, mayor, and deputy mayors. Every year, by law, this must happen. Last year, it did not happen. Honorable Anil Nandalal, don't you believe it is time for you to resign, sir? Don't you believe you have failed the people of this country as Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs? Sir, it is him who I must blame, because it is he who must guide. Or is it just that they do not take guidance from you, Comrade Nandalal? Is it that the ministers of local government and regional development, is it that they are intellectually circumcised to the point where they don't understand your guidance? Or is it you, Honorable AG, that does not have the testicular fortitude and intellectual aptitude to boldly speak out and speak up at cabinet meetings? Is that how dunce they are? Comrade Speaker, let us now look at the allocations in this troubled budget for the regional democratic councils. To further solidify my point about this double standard regime, the public must know the facts. For Region 1, a PPP-controlled region, the allocation to the RDC under line item 6211 increased from 45 million in 2021 to 53 million in 2022. For Region number 2, another PPP-controlled region, from 16 million to 20 million. Region number 3, another PPP-controlled region, from 12 million to 14 million. Region 4, the most populated region in this country, with almost half of the country's population, was allocated a decrease from their last year number, from 21 million to 18 million dollars. This is what the One Guyana is all about, Comrade Speaker. Punishing the region with the most populated and restricting the ability of the elected council of Region 4 will achieve us that One Guyana, Comrade Speaker. Sir, you corrected us in this house on many occasions not to say the word shame or to not cry shame. But I don't know what else to say about this wicked move. Perhaps disgraceful is a good word, but I'm subject to your guidance, Comrade Speaker. Allow me, sir, to now remind this regime of Article 148 of our Constitution, and it reads, except with his or her own consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his or her freedom of assembly, association, and freedom to demonstrate peacefully. That to say, his or her right to assemble freely, to demonstrate peacefully, and to associate with other persons, and in particular, to form or belong to political parties, trade unions, or other associations for the protection of his or her interests. That is what the law of this country says, sir. But ostracizing the people of this country, who in keeping with the Constitution of Guyana, decided to express their right not to associate themselves with the PPP, is the definition of working towards One Guyana in the eyes of the People's Progressive Party. Sir, I cannot say shame. I cannot say that. It is your guidance, but I don't know what else to say. I really don't.
You actually said the word twice, and I'm asking it to be expunged and be careful, because if you go one more time, I'll have to use guillotine.
Thank you, Comrade. You know I always salute your guidance.
But you just disobeyed it.
Double standard, dictatorial, devious, diabolical, dangerous, and because they don't care is what is fitting to describe, in accordance with parliamentary acceptable terms, this regime's behavior towards the people of this country. Sir, outside of this honorable house, I will use some more colorful words, and if we should ever meet, you will hear them. Sir, Article 71 to 78 of our Constitution speaks to local democracy and the importance of local democratic organs. NDCs and municipalities are elected by the people in their respective communities, and basic services are provided to communities from these authorities. Sir, under Agency 13, Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, Program 134, Local Government Development, line item 6312, subvention to local authorities, the figure has moved from $207,894,000 to $0 in 2022. I did take note of the fact that capital subvention has increased from 551 million to 714 million. But the practice over the last years was one of dictatorship, where the NDCs were instructed to spend their subventions on streetlights and crush and run. It was like a racket, sir. One of the streetlights costed the taxpayers $35,000 in total, and your cell phone light is brighter than the light that was erected. We are talking about One Guyana, sir. A Guyana where the installed cabal violates the Constitution, victimizes the elected officials of the RDCs, NDCs, and municipalities, and vilifies the people who stand up against their notorious behavior. That is the One Guyana this regime is talking about. What we have is a local government agenda that is in reverse. There is no provision in the budget that the senior minister in the office of the president with responsibilities for finance who spent more than 5 hours presenting for strengthening local governance and local government. Absolutely no proper consideration. No money for local government elections. Note, sir, whenever the PPP is in government, they have a strong track record of denying Guyanese their right to local governance. There is no money to support LDO's development. A lot for infrastructure, but there is zero for strengthening the system of local government that will alleviate the need for episodic stunts like the current cleanup gimmick unfolding in our communities. Comrade Speaker, condemning this regime's behavior is absolutely necessary, for I cannot, as a right-thinking Guyanese, allow my country to fall to the wayside without a fight. But equally so, I must let my hard-working Guyanese population know of what are our recommendations to this hard-ears bunch of dictators. In the fastest growing economy in the world, we in the APNU AFC are calling on the installed regime to increase income tax threshold to anywhere between $100,000 to $125,000 now. Having it at a meager $75,000 is a because we don't care approach. The poor and the vulnerable are the ones that must be considered in Budget 2022. Better assistance to our senior citizens who toiled in the soil for a Guyana in which we live today must also be properly catered for. And to this end, we call on the regime to increase old age pension immediately to anywhere between $35,000 to $50,000 now. Increase the public assistance for the vulnerable to $40,000 now. We got aisle money, use it wisely. Guyana must, sir, Guyana must be lifted out of the nightmare it is currently in, and putting the resources where it is badly needed must be a priority. Enhancement of all the technical and vocational training centers across the country is desperately needed. Our vulnerable young people must be catered for, and in doing so, we call on the regime to invest heavily in technical education and the technical institutions of this country. Respect the local democratic organs. Stop the dictatorial communication via WhatsApp and allow the elected officials to function, Comrade Nigel Dharamlal. Allow the NDCs to spend their subvention on what the communities need and not what the two zealot ministers believe it should be spent on. Comrade Speaker, this budget has a great focus on agriculture and infrastructure, which is good on paper, but the corruption that faces these two sectors will cause you to cry. A number of farmers, Honorable Zulfikar, are still awaiting their cash grant relief in the public works, and I gave you a name already. Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa, I gave you a name that you have not addressed to this day. In the public works arena, word on the ground is that the drawback is high. The drawback is high, Honorable Indar. The people whose bread are well buttered are the ones who will praise this budget. The people who don't have to worry as to where their next meal is coming from, they will praise this budget. The people who have drivers and drive around this country on fuel paid for by taxpayers will praise this budget. The people who have their own personal security will praise this budget. The people who don't have to buy a $500 phone card or line up at a bus park awaiting public transportation in this COVID pandemic, they will praise this budget. Show me where is it in this budget? Consideration, and I dare say meaningful consideration was given to the poor and vulnerable. Comrade Speaker, Local government election is overdue. It is a constitutional requirement. Was there any mention of local government elections in this budget presentation? To my recollection, the answer is a resounding no. This regime is not focused on upholding and ensuring the holding of local government elections. And the only reason is because they are afraid of the APNU-AFC coalition. If anyone wishes to get an A grade in the course PLT 111, Public Legal Thievery, all you have to do is go down to Rob Street, the building just before Wellington Street, painted in red, yellow, and black on your left-hand side, and ask for a membership card. And if you should ever get lost, just ask the people around there, where is the home of the Natural Resource Fund thieves? You will be pointed in the right direction. If this regime really and truly wanted to consider the ordinary Guyanese people, they would increase the income tax threshold, decrease the income tax rate to the recommended numbers I alluded to earlier. Tell the public what is the salary increases for public servants, and not stand for over 5 hours and tell us about your pathway to corruption. It was noticeably that the finance minister stayed clear of recognizing the significant growth and development which occurred under the APNU-AFC without oil resource, which may be the reason why this regime now created a budget to increase corruption. This budget has no comprehensive plan for COVID-19 and has the most inefficient measure of benefiting the ordinary Guyanese.
Honorable member, to benefit you, will need an extension.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you very much, honorable member. You may continue to conclude.
Thank you. Sir, this budget has no comprehensive plan for COVID-19 and has the most inefficient measure of benefiting the ordinary Guyanese. We have right now a government of mendicants, where the cronies are doing well and the ordinary people are facing hell. On paper, the main opposition in this house represent half of the country's population. And on the ground, support for the coalition is increasing exponentially. And it is shameful that no consultation was held with the political movement which currently represents the majority. The people of this country are yearning for the return of the coalition to office. And I say to them, here and now, hold your faith, hold the line of battle, comrades. Joy comes to us in the morning, for an election will come again. And what the PPPC did in the March 2nd, 2020 elections will never reoccur again in this country. Never again will there be 49 ballot boxes with votes for a political party and no documentation to verify the legitimacy of those votes. Never again will there be people who migrated and did not return to our country on election day but voted. Never again will deaf people...
Honorable members, I think you need to provide a proof of that. And as I cautioned the honorable member senior counsel, who last year said he was going to provide the evidence, I'm still waiting on it. So I'm going to ask you to withdraw that.
Thank you, sir. I will happily provide the evidence as found in the National Recount Center, which I took part in, and I was a counting agent. There were a lot of evidence gathered, and I promise you, sir, I honestly cannot remember you asking me for it last year.
I didn't say I asked you. I said the honorable member was there for senior counsel.
Sir, I will endeavor to provide to you, sir, the statements of recount and the updated report that was sent to GCOM, which I know my political party has a copy on. But I wish to say, sir, if I may continue with your blessings,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
that never again will we have to go through that kind of period, because there will be corrective measures. And this APNU AFC takes the opportunity to call on the installed regime to join with us and let us have a clean voters list where the will of the people will be exercised. And I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that after the next elections, we will be sitting on that side of the house with a majority, and they will be sitting on this side of the house where they rightfully belong. I thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.